All right, this is a vast improvement from last year. You know, but you look at her bag is filling back up. That's what we're looking for. Is I'm just kind of looking at the cows, and especially like some of these heifers. You know, did they peter out? I hope it's not this windy tomorrow. Hey, it's corn silage, so we're just gonna keep rolling. Hey, good morning. Welcome back to Ohrmundt Simmentals. All right, so judging by the noise, weaning has begun, and it's not terribly bad. So these guys are bellowing a little bit, and we got some moms that are bellowing a little bit. But first thing I'm gonna check on is how much of that corn oats molasses did they eat last night? I put out 2 full bags, 2 50-pound bags. And it looks like they did a pretty nice job, all things considering. This one typically wouldn't get touched as much, just for some reason they don't like coming around the corner. But that's all right. Other than being a little bit noisy, things seem to be going okay. All right, but first and foremost, on the list for the weekend, we need to get really, really close, if not actually chopping corn. Here is our pump applicator and inoculant. So you're supposed to be able to set that up for the blower, and if you get the inoculant from our seed dealer at Cropping Central, then you can just borrow that free of charge. So that's awesome. And the first thing, as soon as Dad gets here, we're gonna pull out the blower. So we got a few things we gotta move. One, the duals got to get out of the way. All right, Dad's gonna go grab the bucking plate, and then I gotta grab a chain. We're gonna pull it with the chain out as far as we can until we can hook it up with the bucking plate, and then haul it to where we want it and get it pretty close to a good setup spot. Where we had it last year was a nice spot. Maybe get to watch a little bit of the Badgers today. Playing Michigan, so you know, Badgers are not looking so hot this year. Now, if you want my own personal opinion, like I said, this is the only channel you're gonna get farming and football at the same time. But anyways, Badgers. I think, personally, Fickle, he's okay. I think he could be okay. Could he be like just the wrong fit for head coach for Wisconsin? Absolutely, he could be. But what I think they do need to go back to, because honestly, let's face it, Wisconsin's never gonna pay like what an Alabama's gonna pay for kids now that they have the stupid NIL stuff. They also have to fix the transfer portal, because that's just totally stupid, the way it's set up now. But I personally think they need to go back to what made them a good football team to begin with. Go out, recruit your 2, your 3, get a couple, 1 or 2 4-star recruits, coach the living heck out of them, get them to outperform their ranking, and then you get a couple of 5s that want to come there because it's Wisconsin. That's what worked before, and I'm guessing it can work again. So the idea is we set up the blower so that the edge of the blower and tractor are going to be like right about here, so we can drive in with a load, go turn around, and come right back. Because with the 29 on it, we shouldn't have any issues. Even if we don't blow it all the way to the back, that's not a big deal. You know, if it lands here, then we push it to the back, which ends up being better anyways, because it helps mix everything up. Everything is greased up, chains are oiled, all that good stuff. And basically what Dad wants to do is just come down here to the field and just kind of basically poke in like 10-15 feet and just see how it goes. I think this is going to be way better because we've got the screen set The cutter bar is set, the knives are sharpened. I don't know what else we can do with it. We're gonna find out. Well, the cobs are definitely cut finer. We've really dried down a lot in the last day, or actually the last 3 or 4 days. This stuff still had milk in it last weekend. The kernels are now hard as a rock. But this is a major improvement from last year. All right, so I'll follow Dad and hang out with him for at least the first round, just to make sure everything's going well. I think we're definitely ahead of where we were last year when we chopped. I'd have to look back at when we did, but the 44 ain't hurting for any power with that recutter screen in there. So this area was some of that wet stuff. So is it great? No, but it definitely came back after it finally popped out. I hope Dad remembers that there are some ruts out here. Dad's just taking the corner wider. Now the question is he gonna stop so I can just ride along? I doubt it, but we'll see. Alright, so while Dad is finishing up that load, then I'm gonna start greasing and oiling up this dude. So I got a good start on this one, but Dad is full and ready, so I'm gonna go figure out what we're gonna do with this thing. So yeah. And then we also have to see what the calves did this morning with the grain. I only gave them a couple of buckets. Alright, this is a vast improvement from last year. And there's still some moisture in here. I mean, obviously it's not wringing wet. You don't want it to be, but that's so much better than last year. Can't even hardly tell what chunks are cob and what's stalk, and I'd say like 50%. Say like 50% of the kernels are cracked in some way, shape, or form. So Dad took the chopper down to the shop. I'm going to pick him up. Then we'll hook up the wagon and we'll take it to the farm and figure out what we're gonna do with it. I hope it's not this windy tomorrow. We'll have to adjust and blow into the wind more. This part really sucks. It is the one downside to doing it this way. All right, so first time going on the pile. It's breezy out, so we had it pointed straight to the middle. Honestly, we play the breeze, windage and elevation. I mean, it is one of the downsides to doing it the way we do it. All right, so we're throwing out a bale. Honestly, they're gonna eat like half of it. They're really just playing with it. But one thing I did mention to Dad, and he thought it was nice too, is that so calves have been off for 24 hours now, and what's nice is, you know, you look at some of these cows, and I always like to look at their bag after we take calves off. How much does it actually fill up? You know, does it look like they're still producing is kind of what we're going after. When you look at some of these cows, you know, even 53 here, who I've mentioned she was so skinny, you know, but you look at her bag is filling back up. That's what we're looking for. Is I'm just kind of looking at the cows and just seeing like, hey, you filling back up, especially like some of these heifers. You know, did they peter out, and then even when the calves came off, are their bags coming back? Are they still producing? Yeah, see, that's a heifer. I think that's 301. That's our bold ruler. That's our first bold ruler, and she filled up nicely. So that's what I'm looking at. Here's photo. I know photos bag anywhere. It's weird. I know. But that's really what I'm looking at. I'm just looking at, are their bags filling back up? Because if they didn't, you know, is it because, are they old? Are they not filling back up because they're not producing anymore? But 24 to 48 hours after they're done, after the calves come off, I would expect their bag to be pretty decent. I mean, at least look like there's still some groceries in there. So, and for the most part, that's what it looks like going on out here. So that's a good sign. I was going through some of our numbers from yesterday from preg-check, and honestly, it turned out way better than than I would have actually imagined. I would say 3/4 of our herd is gonna calve, whether they're AI bred or bull bred, before like the end of March, which is awesome, because 3/4 of them, when Heather goes in and she can get some kind of a measurement, you know, she'll give us an approximate based on what she can measure the skull by, because I believe that she sees a grid, and each one of those grids is like a centimeter. So whatever that size is, like, I think she just measures across the skull and whatever that size is, and she can estimate how old they are. So she'll give us, you know, 80 days, 3 months, 4 months, 4 months plus. If they're really big, it's hard for her to tell. 3 to 4 months, she can tell pretty easily. Anything over 4, closer to 5, it's hard. But by then, when we preg check, we know that 4.5 to 5 months, that's AI. Our AI conception looks like it also hit in that like 75% range, so that was really good. All heifers seem to be AI bred, which is awesome. So come February, early March, we're gonna have Gibbs Essentials, we are gonna have Moneymaker, we are gonna have bold rulers, and I think a True Justice, and at least 2 Fairview Kingpins, which is the Fleck Bull, and then possibly a 3rd, or the Cavil calf stuck, because the one that we bred to Cavil was too big. She couldn't exactly tell if it was, she just knew it was plus 4.5 to 5 months. So that's just when she got AI'd. So we'll have to see when she calves. All right, Dad's gonna go grab the big bucket because we're gonna need that tomorrow. It just helps for spreading things out nicer. It's kind of like our dozer blade. And we gotta get grain for the steers. I'm gonna throw down a little bit of our stuff on the bottom in these feeders before we put the corn oats molasses down. Hey, good morning. All right, we are heading out. I'm gonna check their calves bunk quick. The vocal level has come down nicely. There's 1 or 2 cows that'll beller a little bit. There's 1 or 2 calves that are bellering a little bit. You guys clean this up pretty well. We got 1 calf in that feeder, so hopefully that doesn't keep going too long. We don't want that to keep happening. All right, we're finally gonna kind of get started. Obviously, it always takes longer than you think to get going. Second box ready to go. Our little patch job on the deflector is good to go. Thank God we had our Captain MiG 200, because with the stick welder, that would have turned out like garbage. And this way, it turned out pretty decent. All right, Dad's hooked up. We'll just make sure he's off and running. Let's go to the farm. I need to bring out some hoses and get that inoculator over there, that applicator. And by then he might be ready to go. So here's our setup. This is the applicator they gave us. Here's the bottles. We told them how many acres we had, so hopefully we have enough stuff. Never doing this kind of thing before, reading the directions on the bottle. I'll have to talk to Dad. But pretty straightforward. We can hook it right up to the tractor. That'll be fine. I got water out here so we can fill that up. We just got to figure out where we want our spray nozzle. They've got it on a magnet, which is pretty convenient. But what I'll do is I want to find a zip tie and zip tie this on just in case it would fall, get knocked off, whatever, and it doesn't go for a permanent ride. All right, mixing instructions. 1 bottle to half a barrel. This is stuff we're using. That's what our seed provider recommended for us. And there is a pressure gauge on here. I want to run a little bit of water through it and set the pressure. There's like a little dial, you can dial it in. And he said run it around 20 PSI. So. A hectic start, always a hectic start. Well, this setup works a lot better when there's not 15-mile-an-hour winds. So, we're gonna get it done. And it'll be better than last year. As long as the stupid spouts don't come off. Knock on wood. We actually have a little wood here. All right, this is what we got. We got to start leveling this thing out, getting stuff towards the back, and getting the thing packed down. Let's see what we can do. Stuff definitely has a lot more moisture than last year. All right, not too shabby. Again, we don't have the greatest packing situation, but we do what we can with what we got. I will say this stuff moves really easy. It's so much easier to move around because everything is chopped so fine. All right, looks like Dad ran in the house quick. So I'm gonna do the same because I is thirsty. Because he is done with his load. He got done honestly when I started packing. So I'm gonna follow Dad. I don't know if he wants to do 2.5 rounds. He's open ends now. All the full rounds are done. Corn's not looking too bad. It's still maybe a little bit on the dry side, but like I mentioned earlier, it has dried so much just in the last like 4 or 5 days. I mean, honestly, you'll get that when it's 80 frickin' degrees the last week of September, first week of October. So, but running this stuff out, you can tell it's way greener than the stuff we had last year. This stuff, there's a lot more green in the stalk, and a lot more leaves have green in them. It's just way nicer than last year. Load 5 is on the pile. We're gonna spread that out. I'm also out of our inoculant mix, so I gotta mix that up. I gotta do it a little bit different. I was dumb and threw the powder in there and thought it would dilute enough, but it got a little clumpy on me. I think it turned out okay, but I'm gonna mix it in the bottle because the bottle's only about 1/3 full of powder. I'm gonna mix with water in there first, pour that in the water, add more water, and go on, mix it up better. Load number 6 done. Mixed up another batch of inoculant. Much better. Just threw a bunch of, opened up a new bottle, filled it like 3/4 full of water, and then just shook the crap out of it. And then, as I'm filling the tank, dump that stuff in there. Worked really good. Hey, how's it going? All right, it is Monday afternoon. We're gonna keep this video rolling. Because we're just gonna stick with the, hey, it's corn silage, so we're just gonna keep rolling. Normally I do cut the weekends and weeks, split them up, but whatever. Nope, we're gonna keep it rolling. Dad was able to get 2 more loads done today, which is fine, so we gotta unload those. We got an inch of rain last night, a little unexpected, at least the amount. Knew it was supposed to rain, but then we do have some feeding we gotta do. So yeah, but it's nice he was able to get 2 loads because I still have some inoculant left from yesterday, and it says try not to mix more than what you can do in a 24-hour period. We want to try and put a little bit down each day on the pile. These 2 loads, then a load tomorrow, so that way we can get to that point so the pile doesn't sit too long without having fresh stuff on top. So one big improvement over yesterday, no wind. It's amazing the difference it makes when you don't have a 20 mile an hour, 15 mile an hour wind. So now, your silage goes right where you want it to go. Alright, we're gonna run this back to the field, pick up the other wagon, and hook this up to the chopper right away so Dad doesn't have to do that tomorrow. He's got 1 more load left on that field, and then we'll just figure out when we got to make our next push. We're going to be pretty darn close on inoculant. I hope we have enough. So both loads are on the pile. Not sure if Dad's going to level that out tonight or first thing in the morning. Should be fine until then. But he is out feeding, trying to kind of get all this done while we still have a little bit of daylight, I guess. Tomorrow we'll have to bed these calves down The weather's supposed to be pretty decent now, but a lot lower temps, like almost 20 degrees lower than this time last week. So like mid 60s the rest of the week, which is about normal. I think today's normal high is like 61. You know, so I know a lot of guys are already used to this, but still really impressed at the difference that the chopper did this year, you know, after we really fine-tuned it. And I definitely do think putting that recutting screen in, I mean, these size chunks of cob are very rare. You know, it's a lot of it's like this. I mean, you can, when you look at a handful, it's hard to tell what's cob and what's not. I still think we're getting about 50% kernels cracked. Part of that's probably because of the moisture drying out so much in the last week. Well, we are quickly running out of daylight. It doesn't help that it's cloudy out, so, you know, it is what it is. Oh well. But these guys got a bale. We have a lake back again. Yeah, that's enough for today. Catch you guys tomorrow.